definitely
Ooh,
just didn't have a tech faux pas. Click! Ching!
clink. We did it.
Ah, lovely, 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 lovely. Anything exciting planned on this Sunday morning, Miss D?
Well,
DK?
it is an afternoon here
It
where I
is.
am,
That's
but
right.
yeah, probably just gonna go outside and enjoy the sun that has finally come out.
Oh, honestly, like, isn't it that there's that meme that goes around every March, and it's so true. And it's like you
Yes.
don't think seasonal depression is real, and then it's randomly
And
52
then the
degrees in
sun comes
March.
out and you're like,
Yeah, that's like, and it feels like you've taken a Molly. And I was
yes,
like, that's exactly what it is. You're like, oh, I'm just like, yeah, no,
you're in a Disney film.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm so guilty of like, I'm that person where like by February, I'm like, everything's awful, everything's,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, oh, it's fine. Also,
Yeah.
coming from California, you might not have this problem, but like having not like I do anything crazy on Valentine's Day, but like you had Christmas and it's kind of like the next holiday where you can like you have an excuse to do something, you want that
Yeah.
excuse. And out here in Denver, it'll be like 20 degrees and you're like, I don't want to go outside. And it's just so depressing where it's like this holiday, which is like an excuse just to like feel nice and go get food, is like,
Mhm.
nobody look at me. Like,
Yeah, they really need to make like classy but warm clothes. Like just I don't know, wool dresses. We need to bring those back.
I'm sure they do exist and we're just too poor to afford them, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm
I
sure
mean,
someone rich somewhere has made this whole line.
maybe. I look at celebrities. I watch a lot of well, not a lot, but I like to watch a little bit of the celeb gossip news, whatever. And everyone's always dressing either like a straight up bum. Like I saw Zoe Kravitz and she was going to get coffee and she just had like a huge overcoat on, the baggiest pants I've ever seen, and it was like someone just threw their clothes directly on her and she just walked outside. And I'm like, they either look like that or they're like wearing insane, crazy, like Kim Kardashian space age weirdo outfits. And
It's
I'm
not
like,
fashion. That's just
yeah,
fashion.
there is no in
Why are you
between.
dressed like that? You look poor. It's just fashion.
Yeah. So if we could get like some nice, cute wool dresses,
I
I don't
mean,
know,
it can happen.
wool stockings,
It's funny because did you know what kind of women used to wear wool dresses and wool stockings?
women of the olden days.
Perhaps the women of the olden days who we're going to be talking about today on this show.
Yes,
That was
I should have had a little
a little tea. We
teacup.
should have had a tea party. That would have been great.
Oh, what
This
were we thinking?
we can call this our Mother's Day episode because it's very like around that vein. But
Oh,
there is a phenomenon in the world now, not even America,
mhm.
that we think we're going to discuss roots can be linked back to maybe the 1990s in the U.S. And I feel like we need to come. We have, like I said, we have Trekkies, we have murderinos, we have like this like we need to have a phrase for this fandom, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't just be around the one show that's very popular on Netflix right now. Do we
Excuse
like
me.
should
Yeah.
do we call them like Vickies, like Victorian? Like what would you name them?
Vicky's. It sounds like a Karen or a Becky or something. I wouldn't
Oh,
call
you
them
wouldn't call them
Vicky's. No.
Vickies. What about
Like Austonians, because she kind of like she started the I don't know if she
Austonians?
started it, but
We can
in
call
modern day,
we
she's
can
the most
call
popular.
we can call them breeches and hose.
Breeches and hose, like not HOS, but HOSE for like hosiery.
Yeah, but like instead of bitches and hoes, it's our breeches
Yes,
and hose.
yes, yes. That's
I'm
it.
sorry, that's not even an original joke. It's like a classic theater costuming joke. There's probably a million.
Oh, I
There's a
thought you
mil
were very
I'm
clever
so
until you said that.
clever! No, if you're in anybody who's in, like, any kind of, like, theater, like, where you have a lot of costume, that's always the joke is like, "Where's my breeches and hose?" Like, it was very funny backstage.
Very
Okay,
funny.
so I like Austonians, but Austonians doesn't just let's talk you this is your department. Everybody knows that she's our resident literature, Dee's our resident literature nerd. Let's talk about the Austonian origin and some books and films that we all might be familiar with.
Okay, so everyone is familiar with Little Women. If you're not, what rock have you been living under? And I would say a lot of people are familiar with Pride and Prejudice because Mr. Darcy, everyone loves him.
Mr. Darcy.
Yes, exactly. And
You have to say it
then
like that with, like, a little bit of disdain, but also a
Mr.
little bit of emotion.
Darcy.
"Mr. Darcy, I'm both sexually attracted to you and you appall me, and you go against whatever I believe, and so I'm gonna sit like this and once in a while go" and that's that. Like,
Yeah. That
that's
was
good.
I love that
I
little
might as
mini
well. "Look out,
series.
Keira Knightley, I'm here."
Yeah. And then we have Sense and Sensibility, which is probably lesser known, but it's my fave.
That's
And
a
then now we have Bridgerton, which everybody loves Bridgerton now. It's like just exploding
it's
all over Netflix. You can't get away from it. And there's the courtship, which I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot of people
mm,
like.
okay.
And there's also things like it, like Outlander or The Great,
We did
you
kinda
know,
say that, yeah.
kind of in the era, but not as focused on
Yeah,
the finding a husband drama, relationship drama.
The Great. I think Vanity Fair was another one.
Mm.
There's a couple others, like, I even though it's about the lower class, I would put Harlots on Hulu in the same one, and that one
Oh,
is
yeah, that one was good.
excellent. I loved Harlots, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always gonna be, like, modern day take versions of them as well, but we're really talking about the historical, like, the period ones.
Set in the Regency era.
Yes, and what is it? What's that? It's not even though now the person who wrote it isn't the best. Is it the Eternal? No, not the Eternals is Marvel. It's the Nevers.
The Nevers. I
That
haven't even
and I
heard of that.
oh, the Nevers. I mean, we'll get into that, but it was written by what's his face who kind of got canceled. So it's kind of like
What's his face? Yep, I remember what's his face.
yes, it's essentially the same thing. It's like a Victorian world. Oh, it's Josh Whedon. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, no, which sucks though because like I once I found out it was by him, I was like, "Damn it, this is actually a really good idea."
Yeah,
It's such a quick tangent from what we're gonna be talking about, but just to give you an idea of like a taste, because Bridgerton kind of really touches on like modern courtships and dating, and like there's a
yeah.
lot more like we just have a lot more relatable things in it. The Nevers is very historically accurate, but then the idea is that somewhere in the middle of the night there was like a great fog and people woke up with afflictions, mostly women, it mostly affects women, but all of these people, no matter what class, whatever level, have suddenly developed powers. It's like you develop them at puberty.
Hmm,
And so it's like kind of like Victorian X-Men,
alright.
but
So their
here's
periods give them powers.
yeah, well,
Is,
because men can get it too. But it's not as
okay.
common. Or they
Mhm.
kinda touch on in the show, like, maybe it's more common than they think because men can kind of, like, get away with, like, whatever the fuck they want, like, it's easier to hide they have a power because there's,
Mhm.
like, no question on why a man's living alone and no one's checking up on them and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you watch, like, this whole season watching this Victorian world, and they're trying to solve this mystery because there's, like, an alien buried underground, all this stuff, and you're like, "Okay, this
It's the
alien is"
X-Files?
yeah, and then at the very end the last 2 episodes, like, the show opens, and it's, like, in the future, like, on a moon space station. I was so confused.
God, it's like The Village.
I had to stop the show because I thought it went to the wrong show, and then I was, like,
Wait,
rewind yeah, I had to keep double checking. I was like, "No, this HBO Max says this is the Nevers." Like, it was so confusing, and then basically you find out that, like, the main character from in this, like, Victorian show we've been watching basically transported her consciousness back in time to the Victoria from like the year 30,000 to this
oh,
Victorian era, and then along with her came the alien. And so now
weird.
she's trapped in another woman's body and like wakes up in Victorian England and has to like start a life. All this, and I was like, I'm sorry, this was a time travel show. This whole it was so weird. We're getting
It's
really off
like
topic, but it.
Outlander meets Doctor Who meets the X-Files.
Mhm.
Like, what?
Yeah, and like these all have been really popular, but I think what made Bridgerton have really stand out is that we this was a show that didn't rely on like a trick or a plot not saying those other shows like I don't know stuff, they're great. But like
Yes,
Bridgerton
the Jane Austens are famous for being time travel
but like
stories.
it's this Bridgerton was the beginning of the callback to this like all we need is what is unsaid, which I think is the best way to describe this cultural concept. What do you think?
All we need is what is unsaid.
That's the most like that's how Brits make their TV. It's almost all of their serious stuff is what is unsaid.
Like the Bollywood take where it's like you just break into song and dance.
Well, it's
It's
just like they'll be talking about like, "Oh, Robert, did you walk the dog today?" "Yes, of course I walk the dog. Why wouldn't I walk the dog?" "Well, I know sometimes the dog forgets to be walked and can make quite the bad choices when not walked." And you're like, "They're not talking about the dog, are they?" That's like, did I not just explain every Jane Austen, Bridgerton, whatever else right there? It's like what's not said. It's like the British motto. It should be on their motto.
yeah. But then it is true because every episode I'm like, if you had just communicated clearly to this other person, none of this drama would be happening. Okay? If you're just like, I like you and I like you and I'm just mad because I'm in love with you, like
Yes.
we wouldn't have that drama,
Everybody
that
just sit
tension.
down. Yeah.
Yes. But it's like if we don't have that, you know, we
Yeah.
don't have the drama.
We don't
And
got the
that's the big
show.
pull because it's like
Yeah.
it's well executed. Like I think Bridgerton is really well done. I like that it's an alternate universe where there's more diversity and it's not just like a lot of the every Jane Austen, she's just writing from her own perspective, which
Yeah.
was, you know.
Well, I'll say this. So, like, we talked about this when we were doing our research, but the 1990s Little Women, it
Mhm.
was, well, yeah, what was your research on this show? I think was at least then, like we were saying, how like the cast was so stacked, right? Like Winona Ryder,
Mhm.
Claire Danes, Christian Bale, which I forgot you said. I was like, I forgot he was in
Yeah.
that. Susan
Yeah.
Sarandon. It was like I think everybody was famous except for like the dad in that movie,
Yeah,
like
who was
super
the
famous.
dad?
We don't know, but like,
It was
yeah,
freaking Peter Boyle or something.
yeah, it was
Just
it was real famous for the 90s. Like, and I think that Jane Austen's big, and like this is very reflective of the era of when that movie came out. Was it was like it's about women and women empowerment and this is for women everywhere, but it was like just white women, not really all women.
yeah.
But like but for that time I could
Mhm.
see how that resonated. I mean, white feminism was rampant during the 90s and we didn't even know it was white feminism. I mean, other people did. Like people who needed to know didn't know. So I could see how like now Bridgerton is like that next step, right? It's like Hamilton. It's like,
Mhm.
like this is the inclusivity that we've should have always had, and we could probably still
Yeah.
have more. But we're finally there. And so that modern take, and I like how there was, I mean, so The Great, which is another one that
Mhm.
The Great just doesn't acknowledge race. It is, have you seen it?
No, but it looks good.
It's fantastic. And it's got 2 seasons, so you can totally binge it with your hubby. It's just like, and I do appreciate this, like, there's no, like, it's just some people are black, some people are brown, some people are white, some people are this. Like,
Mhm.
it's a very this like everybody has their Russian name and their Russian title, and there's just like no acknowledgement of race. Like it's just a mixed court
Yeah,
that
well, that's how, like, Bridgerton is. There's no it's just like
no, because
I didn't
Bridgerton, they talk about why there's black people, and I didn't realize
like,
this.
that's, like, mentioned once, and then that's it.
No,
And
it's
then
mentioned a
it's
couple
just like,
times. It's mentioned a
"Is
couple
it?
times.
Oh
I
god,
know.
what did I miss?"
I had to rewatch I rewatched the first season because I was waiting
Okay.
impatiently. So I'm not gonna. I caught it and I was like, I just thought it was another thing we just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
I
I
was like,
didn't
oh my god, they talk about it several times. And I was like, that goes to show you like how like much I was paying attention the first time because I was just like, just give me
yeah.
the sex scenes. So, and like they talk about how she goes like talks about love and how it changed everything for their people and how the
Yeah.
king fell in love with one of their own. And then that's when other things start to make sense, like the flashback when he's dad is like, is the our family has been given this new title and this new tame and we're not gonna like why, and it explains why and the reasons why his dad was so obsessed with perfection and this and that because
Mhm.
obviously when the queen became queen they got a brand new title, a brand new bacon, brand new. So he's the second Duke Hastings ever. And I was like, oh, so all that crazy stuff he was saying, where you thought he was just being like, out of his mind, that was actually the reason why. It all started making sense. And I was like, wow, there's like a lot of history here that I didn't even like. There's a whole other second story that I hopefully we get to
Yeah.
see.
Like, that somehow got into my head because I knew that, like, Queen Charlotte was the reason why it was, like, diverse, way more diverse than it would have been.
Mhm.
And I guess I just didn't pick up on that. I was just like, "Stop treating baby Simon so badly, Dad."
Baby Simon's baby. God, what a prick. Great actor. I feel bad. You ever like see an actor that's like so awful but so good that
Yes.
you're like, God, I hope they're not like was it King Joffrey? I was like, God, that kid's probably getting
Oh,
harassed like all hell on the street right now.
I heard Lena Headey.
Yeah,
Is that
Lena Headey.
uh,
Yeah, Lena. Yeah,
anyway? I'm sorry, Lena. I know you're watching.
we
She
love you.
would get like people would be like, "I hate you" on the street because she did such a great
She
Cersei
was such a good
Lannister,
I
and she
know.
would just get hate. And I'm like, it's like that can't be good for like your self-esteem, but then at the same time, it's like I did such a good job that people hate
Yeah,
me in real life for it.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
I'm sure. What is like the $1 million? She got paid $1 million episode for just sipping wine and staring off a balcony. I was like, she's probably like, hate me all you want.
Yeah.
No, it's what is it? I'll have to look up his name. There's an actor. He plays the roommate in Broad City. Her room, Jaime.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, he
I know
also
him.
is like a drug lord in Narco, like a totally different.
Oh.
He's like, and like it's like he's like it's like night and day kind of character. And he was
Called Range, Sarah.
yeah, well, he was talking about a TV show and they're asking about it. He's like, I can always tell which fans are which because like the
Yeah.
narco fans are like, excuse me, sir, blah 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 blah. And he goes, and then sometimes like two fans will come up to me at the same time and one doesn't has never even is a prostitute and like, hi me, what's up, bitch? And then
Yeah.
there people are just like, what? And so I was like, that's gotta be so funny, like experiencing like people like the polar opposite of that kind of fandom. So that's probably around that
Yeah.
same line.
Personal story about that because we all know Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier in
Hmm.
Marvel, but I watched him in the movie Fresh, and it's a pretty good horror movie, all right? And he does such a good job that I never want to look at his face ever again.
Really, like it changed how you see him. That's so
Yes,
funny.
I'm just like, I don't want to see the Winter Soldier. Nope, get him out of here.
He
I'm
was
still mad at him.
yeah, that's great. I mean, then
So
isn't
if you
that
want
what?
to hate him, watch Fresh. He does a really good job.
There you go. All right, it's good to know. So we've kind of covered like what we're talking about. So the Bridgertons, the Pride and Prejudices, the in betweens, but not needing any kind of like whimsical modern factor. Women to put it frankly, women are cream in their pants. They can't.
Yeah.
It's like the next. I mean, that's what it is. It's like what is it? 50 Shades of Grey. Like people are just like but it's like clean. We can talk about it. I know, like when it came out, the
Yes.
new season came out.
It's not shameful.
No, it's classy. And then like everybody's
Yeah.
banging when they're married, or at least if it's glorified, it's because they're married.
Except for the dudes who are just
They can do whatever the hell they want.
getting it where they can take it.
At Bridgerton, I'm so like that. The second brother of the artist, I remember even being like, I was
Yeah.
like, you have the best. Like you really did have like the dopest life. I was
Yeah.
like,
No, he's not the head of the household. He
yeah,
can dick
but he has
around
all
all
this
he wants.
power, and he gets to go be an
Yeah.
artist and have all this fun.
Yeah.
I was
Like, I'm gonna
like that.
pursue some kind of deadbeat job in the future and just do whatever I want and, draw people and just, drink all day and do
I
drugs and
like Colin's like more responsible than him. Colin's like all about like taking
yeah,
care of people and stuff. And like, yeah,
yeah. Just
um,
and he has no responsibility either.
yeah,
He's
but he's
just
just like it's
floating.
yeah. So let's, in your opinion, what are some key components to these type of shows that makes this fandom, especially now, so strong?
I think it's because the drama is just finding a husband and it's all based on like romance and falling in love and finding the most gallant and chivalrous man at the party during the season, and it's just very like they've just boiled down like rom drams. I think that's a thing, romantic
Mhm.
dramas.
Yeah, bomb jobs. Yeah.
And they've just boiled it down to the bare necessities, and that's it. And it's just like you got like the tension of a scene with, especially in season 2, where it's like Kate and Anthony and they're just like like in every scene with each other, and you're just like, all right, go take a cold bath or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just like heavy breathing the entire time they're on screen together. And but it's just like pure, it's like pure romance. There's nothing like like dirty or insidious about it. They're just like, I'm trying to find a husband or a woman who loves me so that we can ride off into the sunset and
Yeah.
play croquet and have little babies. So
So would
it's just like the purest form of like romance and drama
so would
to me.
you so would you suggest that this caters to a certain type of woman that we have now, or this caters to all women everywhere?
I
Like,
think it's a well because Jane Austen was pretty popular, I think, when she was writing these books, and they made a Pride and Prejudice in the 40s, so it's not like she has been dead for 200 years and then it just popped up in the 90s. So there was kind of a small
yeah,
resurgence in the
it's
40s,
like
and maybe that was
it's like those classics like Peter Pan or whatever. Like, there's always like every like 20, 30 years, someone's like, we're gonna do it
yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah. If it comes
Frankenstein.
back every 27 years, that would be super cool
That actually
because that
would be if they
I
plan
would
that.
enjoy
That
that. In
I would
27
really
years.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
Patent pending. G-spot. We took that idea every 27. That's. I hope
Yeah.
that's actually super smart. Wouldn't that be cool if they did that? Come on,
Yeah.
Stephen.
Oh, I
After
mean,
that.
what's his name did it with this newest one, and I'm like, okay, he needs to like pass the torch for another 27 years so someone else can do it too. Because
To redo it, yeah.
yeah,
Just tell the
that would
same
be
story twice, yeah.
just
Yeah.
update it.
And then but then it's in Victorian era. So, like, we
Well, it's
see
the
this
Regency era.
well,
So,
Regency
all
era,
right, I'm gonna
sorry.
give you a
Okay,
history
yes, let's
lesson.
get on that because I
This
actually
is
looked at the dresses, and I was confused how much, like
yes,
okay, let's get a breakdown of the differences.
yes, early 1800s, 1820s ish. That's like the Regency era. The Victorian era is during Queen Victoria, which is late 1800s almost into the early 1900s. And some history person is going to be like, let me get you the exact effing dates, you ignorant piece of crap. And I'm sorry, I'm just doing it broadly.
Mhm.
So, like, you'll notice the dresses are like every woman wears what looks like a maternity dress
Mhm.
because a maternity dress because everyone was just like expected to get married and have babies. So, the dresses of the time were they gave a lot of room in the waist to expand so that you didn't have to buy new dresses if you were having a baby. You already had your maternity dresses. So,
Hmm.
it's very easy just to get pregnant, not have to worry. Yes.
Okay,
So,
and
that's
then
my
'cause I
history
noticed they
lesson.
show a lot more skin in the Victorian era as well.
Yes. There was that one scene where it was the Featheringtons, and she was like, lower the bust, and the,
Yeah.
oh God, I forget her name, but
Yeah,
she was like,
Nicholas
we're getting into like scandalous territory here.
Yeah. Um, okay, and then a typical I did notice, and this was true always, like, but if you were like an actor in theater, like that shit didn't matter. Like, skin was out because people didn't see you as like a proper person. So you wore whatever
Yeah.
costumes it involved. Okay, so the Regency era.
Hmm.
So this is like America's like still like barely a colony at this point then during this
Yeah.
time.
But yeah, like Bridgerton is in
Well,
Britain and
you said it was early
the
1800s, so it's
yeah.
the Revolutionary War probably just ended and they're probably recovering from all that.
Yeah, it's been like 40 years.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
This
like,
is
well,
real
probably more than
historical.
that.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get a sense of like, where everything is and like the uncle who comes over from America. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the Regency era and
Hmm.
how did we like what if like it came back? Like cuz he's been there from the dawn of time. So he came out every so many years.
So now we're going back to it.
Why would it be cool if like he came out as like a Victorian like what if like I want to know what kind of nightmares he created.
He
Like
does wear like, like that flouncy outfit that is in
yeah,
the
he's a
modern
clown.
day It, which is like the It from the book. It's a little more like a classic, like before the freaking Bozo the Clown classic, like yeah,
Mhm.
like early 1900s clown looking stuff.
Yeah,
So it's
that
like, where did he pick up that outfit?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he probably saw some kid
a
be scared kid like
Regency
that.
era It, but it's a dramedy.
That would be a
And
great cosplay. If someone just did like a Regency or like a historical it, like a ball gown.
historical, yeah, he's got a top hat and a cane and hopefully a
Welcome to the It
monocle
Show.
just because.
All right, okay. So we're getting way off track. So this fandom, you think it is for all women?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
a particular type of woman. I'm wondering if this
But
is
I'm every woman, so it is for every woman.
I'm every woman. Shaka Khan. I always say Shaka Khan because Whitney Houston always gets the credit for that, and it was a redo of her song, so we got to represent. I would say, like, I think it's the biggest thing for me and why people love this so much is that I find that usually stuff like this does kind of attract a certain kind of like, for lack of a better term, like that housewife, that like romance
Yeah.
novel type. But Bridgerton just seems to attract like all kinds, all levels. There doesn't seem to be a particular kind, like age or anything like that. And it's somehow it's done really classy, like like Twilight and 50 Shades, all the other stuff. It triggered something in women that was like mockable, and something about
Mhm.
Bridgerton is like you can make fun of it, but it's like don't you make fun of it? This is classy.
Yeah, I feel like it's mostly because of the time period that it takes place in.
Hmm.
Like, if it were modern day and they were wearing, like, low-rise jeans and stuff, it'd be like, yeah, that's mockable. But if it's in the past and it's the 1800s, like, oh, it looks classy, so it must be classy, even though it could be,
Hmm.
like harlots or something.
Yeah. What is it? What was that movie where it was with Keanu Reeves and Reese Witherspoon and no. I'm getting them mixed up. Okay. So Glenn Close, Keanu Reeves, and John Malkovich. And they're like this step brother and sister, and it's like the Victorian era where it's like all like sex, and it's a famous play.
It's a famous
Okay,
play.
I'm gonna
Man,
look
I'm
it.
surprised I don't know this. A Keanu Reeves movie that I don't know.
I know. Wait.
Shameful. I was like,
Uh,
you said Keanu Reeves, and I was like, A Walk in the Clouds. And then Reese Witherspoon, I was like,
it was
what?
right around her Deadly Attraction or Fatal. Well, maybe it
Fatal
was later.
Attraction. And
It
Glenn Close can do
was
anything.
Dangerous Liaisons. That's what it is. Michelle Pfeiffer was in it. You know what I'm talking
Okay.
about?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I remember. So there is a modern version of that with Anakin. What's his face?
Oh, Hayden
Yeah, Hayden
Christensen.
Christensen, Reese Witherspoon's like Selma Blair. What is it? Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's like, and I remember watching it and just like us all. Like, it was the '90s, so all
Wait.
my friends were watching it, and even like as like a tween, I was like, "This is like so bad." I was like, "This is like overtly sexual. This plot is ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna get her to sleep with me so I can ruin her reputation for my stepsister, so she'll let me sleep with her." Like, it was just like so bizarro, right? Then I
Was
got to
this, what was it? Cruel Intentions or something?
yes, right? So then
Okay. That's
so then
crazy.
I got to college and we started reading Dangerous Liaisons, and I went, is this Cruel Intentions? And then and then someone was like, oh yeah, Cruel Intentions was based off of Dangerous Liaisons. And then the Dangerous
Okay.
Liaison film came out with like I watched that one and I went, this is literally the same thing, except for some reason everybody in their like corsets and powdered wigs. I'm like, I can handle it better.
Yeah.
And Cruel Intentions, this looked just so dumb. And like what a great
Yeah.
example is like what you I'm just supporting what you said, like it's so funny how like we just changed the time era and everybody's saying the exact same thing and doing the exact
Yes.
same. Like John Malkovich is like straight up like eating a pussy in this movie, and I'm like, oh, historical, oh, so accurate. It's art. It's
Oh,
art.
yes, he definitely would have done that in the
Yes.
1800s.
Yeah, oh, and he's eating out. That's right. It was Uma Thurman. He's like eating Uma
Oh,
Thurman out.
God.
And I'm like, checks out. But then Hayden Christensen eats Asma Blair, and I'm like, they're disgusting. But it's the
Gross.
same thing. And like at least those two were age appropriate. John Malkovich is like an old man, and Uma Thurman plays like a 16 year
Yeah.
old. Like
Well, that's historically accurate.
that's
The
very
large age
no. So
difference.
we're like accurate. Checks out. Like it's just like so like what it like there's maybe like or there must be blinders, and it must be very American, right? Like we as Americans, we love an accent and a
Yeah.
different time era, and we're like it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I feel
and
like
that's
Brits love a good time, a good period piece.
that's all. They're
All
all
BritBox shows are like
it's
taking
so
place in the
it's so
past.
it's all period pieces with them. I know I
Yes.
watch a lot of Brit stuff. I was
Yeah.
just watching it one this before I came down to my bed. Really good. Call it Midwife. Check it out. It's like 70 seasons.
Oh, God. Yeah, I can't watch that though.
Oh, you
Too
cry. Oh,
sad.
you gonna
Too
cry.
sad.
You're gonna
Too
cry.
sad.
But next. Yeah. So this phenomenon is just something that we just women and this mystery behind it, and it's kind of like the Baby Yoda effect, where it just like brings something out in us. Do you have
It
any
just gets the
criticisms
ovaries. Oh yeah, I've got criticisms.
for
It's
just the?
not long enough. No.
I need more.
There were some like I get that it's not historically accurate. Like it's like in an alternate fantasy universe, which is
Mhm.
cool and I like it a lot. But people aren't hairy enough. There weren't razors back then on the
Yeah.
regs every day. So there's like that one scene where Anthony and Kate, he's like pulling down her stocking and it's just smooth, beautiful skin. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that would be a hairy bramble. Okay. That's not happening. And they're like, oh, I've got shaved armpits. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No, no.
That's
That
your
was
complaint,
happening.
is that there's too much body hair?
Not enough body hair. I mean, the dudes are all like, they get their hot shaves, whatever, and they go to the barber every day because they're just raking in money for doing nothing, and
Mm. I think
body hair issue.
my biggest complaint about all of these, all as an encompass of the theme, is that the one that maybe Little Women is the only one that kind of escaped that. The one sister who was always like, I don't need a man, and why do we have to have the patriarchy? They always make her
Yes.
the younger,
Well, she's
yappier
like the
one.
second oldest, or like,
Always, always. And it's
yeah,
always like they never give her the power to like they it's like they purposely make that character to where that you can say all you ever do is talk, you never do anything, and it's like, why do we keep writing characters like that? Why can't someone
yeah,
actually do something?
yeah. I totally get it.
And
Although
I
in Bridgerton, I feel like Eloise is like she's doing something about it. A little bit,
see,
at least.
we'll
She's
see.
just like
Oh,
she's going to
like,
those, like, rallies and whatnot and reading
yeah, but not
literature,
anymore,
so
not anymore. I don't know.
well,
So
we'll
spoiler.
see.
By the time this comes out, you guys should have seen it. Come on.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest complaint. But I think overall, I think that this show will eventually die. Another 10,
Mhm.
20 years will pass, and then it'll come back, just like it has been doing for basically the creation of this fandom. And
Yes.
I'll say this, and I'm not just saying this because we're doing it. Not a lot of people talk about this like weird genre bubble and how I think it really does have a place in the nerd community.
Yeah, like, it's period dramas.
But like,
People
eh,
love periods.
love period dramas. Like, so that's my other complaint. We don't talk about how gross it is being a woman. Now, they do mention it. So I forgot they still have like chamber pots. I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
The great actually does a really good job on like showcasing that. It's rough. Like they show the servants' quarters where like you just have to walk and it's like someone's taking a shit next to their roommate, someone's having sex with the
Yeah.
door open. Like there's like no secrets in this one. The pox, like
Yes.
the great does a really good
It's
job of showing
much
that.
more realistic because every other show, like, even, like, Downton Abbey, it's like, you don't see any of that.
And Downton
It's
Abbey's more
just
modern. So there's
yeah,
like kind of
it's
a
in the 1900s. It's in the 20th
yeah, but they
century.
have like some stuff. Like, they're wearing like more recognizable clothes and things like that.
Yeah.
But um,
Suits.
it's interesting. I think that I'm gonna say that because the fan base is pretty much all women. I'm not saying there's not other men in there, but
Nothing wrong with that. All right, dudes
now
can watch Bruce Willis films. All right,
and
leave
I
us
and
Bridgerton
it's one of
and
those things where maybe this fandom doesn't get enough credit. It's why it's mocked a lot.
yeah,
Why it's not taken as seriously, and it's probably got some of the most complicated writing and probably some of the richest history. And I
yeah,
think it needs to get a little bit more credit because it's not historical. It's fiction. It is a fandom, and it is a moneymaker, and it's widespread. And I think if
yeah,
Bridgerton has proven anything, that there's a world for that. There's room
yeah,
in that, and there's lots of room to expand, and it can be done very well.
yeah.
So,
And it has been.
and it
Thank you,
has been.
writers,
Thank you, thank you, America.
whoever you are.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to the what are we? We're the
G spot.
G spot. Can you listen to your cues? I want to end it. I did have this like big high speech, but then I found this and I just felt like this really
Oh
related.
yes, yes,
So,
yeah.
all right,
That
guys.
was
it was a fact. Go ahead, follow us on Facebook. Go ahead and see all our other cool stuff that we have. Check out our
We have a
channels.
lot. Mhm.
All right. Have a great day. Good morning, America.